What's up, folks? Hope you are doing great. And let's start with today's story, titled New Here and Devastated. Me, 35 male, and my wife, 32 female, have been married about 4 years. Anniversary is next month. We have lived in a large Pacific Northwest city for about 3 years, having moved from another part of the state. We've been together about 9 years in total. No kids, but those discussions have been ramping up this year. We've had our share of differences over the years, and there have been instances when I've been uncomfortable with some of my wife's male friends over the years, while she was in grad school and her career. I don't think I'm insecure, but the flirting and what now seems to be triangling or almost seeming to make me jealous with little hints might now make some sense. It's led to fights and disagreements, and she has a history of mood swings and some depression, and she has ADHD. She currently works at a large sales marketing firm, and I'm in engineering. Up until a few weeks ago, I was under the impression that we had a solid marriage. Our sex life is normal, as far as I can tell. And although she makes more money than me, I never thought it was an issue. I have noticed the fights increased over the past 18 months, but over the past few months, she's been very attentive, although seemingly more depressed, and she's lost a ton of weight. She is small, but went from that to skin and bones and not eating much. I think I now know why. 2 weeks ago, I received an anonymous text message from someone that works with her. This person did not identify themselves, but given the information in the text, I'm pretty sure I know who it is. A good work friend of my wife who is married that we've socialized with as couples. The text came in two parts, and the sender expressed a lot of sympathy for me, and I deserve to know what's going on. In short, according to the sender, my wife has been or was having a long-term affair, over a year, with a good guy friend of hers at work that's 10 years older than her and married with a kid. Apparently, they expressed that they loved each other, and it sounds like they spent a lot of time together, unbeknownst to me. As if that's not bad enough, my wife also started another affair with a second married guy who works for the same company and is about 20 years older than her, who has several kids. That one was going on for a few months. Someone at my wife's office caught them in an empty office one afternoon having sex and reported it to my wife's HR. It turned into a mess, and all three of them had to speak with HR. The two guys didn't know about each other, and it supposedly got ugly between them too. My wife is likely getting fired along with the guy she got caught with. As you can imagine, I'm barely holding it together. We've had family at our house, so I've kept myself under control, and my wife does not yet know I received the text alerting me. She's also said nothing about any of this, and has lied to me repeatedly over the past year about the guy who she had the longer affair with. I sensed something was up, and mentioned it several times, and she just told me I was being weird. They were just friends, and on and on. So I dropped it. We have different cell plans, but I figured out her password, and seeing all the texting and photo text between the people I have now identified as the work affair, people was sickening. There are also a large amount of texts with another number, but I couldn't figure out who it was. I just know it's not any of her close girlfriends, because I also have their numbers. I'm at a loss and feel like an idiot. It's the holidays and family is here, so I'm keeping a brave face, but once they leave after New Year's, I just don't know where to start. I can't even understand what's going on here with what is serial cheating, all the lying and the manipulation she's been doing. Is there any coming back from this? Or for those of you that have been down this road, what do I do next? I feel like I'm going to lose it at any second, and I appreciate any advice, regardless of how harsh it might be. It wasn't just two men. Those are only the ones he found out about. She's been cheating the entire marriage. And now to the update. I thought a lot about what everyone said and ended up trying to sync my work iPad with her phone, and it worked. Mostly. I got a chance when she went outside for a bit with our nieces and nephews and left her phone charging in our bedroom. I got lucky on the password, which was more obvious than I would have thought, and got it on the second try. Things are as bad as I imagined they were, based on what I could cover, and the anonymous texter who tipped me off was clearly being truthful. I recovered archived WhatsApp chats and some ongoing ones. I'll summarize as best as I can, because what I saw disgusted me, and probably will traumatize me for a while. My wife was definitely sleeping with both coworkers, and neither seemed aware, apparently. The long-term guy seems to have really liked her, but their recent convos got icy, as my wife seems pissed that he disclosed the truth about their relationship as part of the HR process. Several weeks ago, around when I found out, and probably around the time the HR thing kicked off, she was telling him how much she loved him, but then a week later she's telling him she needs space, isn't sure, etc. Their archived messages, or the ones I could recover, go back well into 2022. They are sexual, graphic, include pics, details, etc., and always included I love yous on both sides. The short-term guy, the much older one, is worried about his job, but also keeps trying to get her to meet to hook up. She's keeping her distance, it seems. But some of their chats, they only went back to September, are definitely sexual, expressing sexual wants, etc. It seemed less frequent than long-term guy. Not all that emotional, just flirty and highly sexual. She also bitched to him about the long-term guy making her life complicated. A direct quote. Even though it seems the long-term guy wasn't the one who caught them. So I'm not sure how he found out. Here's what I ended up doing. I called my boss and explained what I could muster up, and I asked for a few weeks off. He was very understanding and gave me 3 weeks to sort things out and get away. My wife on Friday went out shopping and to a movie with her sister, and that's when I bailed. I packed up all the clothes I needed/wanted, essential electronics and a few random items, and loaded up my truck with about 4 duffel bags and a few boxes. I spoke with her dad and spilled and told him what was going on. He was angry and incredulous at first, but when I shared some of the messages with him, the most PG I could find, he sort of broke down, gave me a hug, and I told him I'd be staying with friends out of town, who live about an hour away. Reading those messages, I felt like I was outside looking through a window of a love triangle movie that turned into a horror movie because it's my wife leading this second life. I'm emotionally exhausted. I feel sick, and I just cannot get my head around how someone could act this way. I know I need to file, so I'm hoping one of the lawyers I contacted over the past few weeks gets a hold of me this week. Any additional advice or thoughts are welcome. OP should be thankful he doesn't have children with this woman. And now to the second update. It's been a busy last week, or at least I've been trying to stay focused by keeping myself busy, by keeping my life organized as I move forward. Thank you again to everyone who continues to reach out with all the support and advice. Here's where things are at. So far, I have not responded to any of her texts or calls. I don't plan to, but it's very difficult. There have been points every day where I break down, but I'm realizing, mostly through the advice I've gotten here, that nothing good is going to come from communicating with her. I want out. I'm filing for divorce, and the longer I go without having any contact is good for me, even if it feels raw right now. I have an attorney that my family has helped me to pay for, and I've gone through the whole story with her several times, provided all the information she's asked for, etc. I think my wife will be served at some point in the next week or two. At least that's my understanding. The validation I got from my attorney was a relief, but she was also blunt. She said in no uncertain times that my wife is a narcissist and that this is disordered, awful conduct that is really bad. She communicated that she doesn't see my circumstances too often, multiple affairs at once at the workplace, and lies to all involved. For some reason, that has made me feel better. Like this really is as bad as it sounds and as bad as it's made me feel. Also, for those who have asked, we were renting our house and the lease period is up after March. I emailed the landlord, it's an older couple, let them know we were splitting up. I kept it brief, no details, and would not be renewing. My friends have graciously allowed me to continue staying with them, and I'm just going to pay the rent for the next few months and bite the bullet. I can often work remotely, and even though my office is a bit of a drive from my friend's place, I can handle it for a bit. I guess I figure this is the best way to live somewhere where I feel secure, understood, and I don't have to deal with possibly seeing my wife. Finally, the last part. Maybe this was a bad idea, but I did it anyway. I made contact with the two affair partners. I got one of their numbers through a friend of a friend, and the other one I just called at my wife's company and got transferred through. That was the shorter term, older guy. I think he's 50 or early 50s. I introduced myself, told him we needed to talk, and that I had some questions. He panicked on the phone, seemed nervous, and said he didn't have anything to say and hung up. The longer-term guy and I had 2 calls for a total of about an hour. This is the guy who's 40, I think, who my wife was really good friends with. As much as I hate his guts, I respect that he answered my questions. I'll say this, he was confident, but apologetic, and I believed what he told me based on some specific details we discussed over the course of the calls. He just laid it all out there. What was shocking was the crap my wife told him about me and us. I was verbally abusive. We rarely had sex, I was lazy and checked out, etc. He acknowledged that he should have never started the relationship with her, and basically did so because he was miserable at home. He and his wife are now separated, and he said he came clean with her about what had gone on with my wife, but admitted that if it weren't for the HR situation, he probably wouldn't have. He even gave me her number if I wanted to speak with her. He shared some painful things in response to my questions, and was under the impression that the crap my wife was telling him about me was real, and that she really meant all the feelings she shared with him, because their relationship went on so long and he trusted her. I thanked him, and after I hung up the phone, I just broke down again. Many of you have reached out and advised to not spend any time wondering why she did this, but I just can't get away from that topic at the moment. I think I'm still in disbelief that someone I trusted and thought loved and valued me could act this way. My mind has officially been blown to bits. Doing my best to just get through each day, keep no contact going, and see this divorce process through, which is just at the beginning stages. I wouldn't wish a woman like this even on my worst enemy. And the third update, well, it's getting closer to 2 months since I got anonymous texts from what I assume is a coworker of my soon-to-be ex-wife's, informing me of her serial cheating and HR issue. The head-snapping shock and numbness has not left me, but it's getting less dense. The realization that the embarrassment, pain, and stupidity I feel is likely going to continue for a long while is tough to swallow. But I've committed to doing the best I can each day to not let it fully conquer me. If I'm being honest, I'm struggling emotionally. I'm keeping it together, but the tears flow each night and I rarely cry. So I know this is my body speaking to me, so I just let it happen. I retained an attorney with the help of family, and a few of them attended the first real meeting with me. The initial petition or filing is done, and it's going to be served on her at some point in the next week or two. I feel good that I'm doing that now, and I know it's what's best. My emotions have been up and down about it, but I cannot raise children, nor do I want to have children, or a life with someone that has the traits my soon-to-be ex-wife has displayed. I'm committed to seeing it through. As for my soon-to-be ex-wife, I've still not called, texted, or emailed back. The longer I go, it gets a bit easier. Like I've regained some control of the insanity she dropped in my lap. I haven't gotten any calls or texts in 4 or 5 days, but I did get a long email last week, and I did read it. In some, it was a lot of "I love you," and "I realize I made a huge mistake" type of language. She said she was sorry over and over, but what struck me was that it was kind of empty. She didn't address much in terms of details about why she was sorry, and just acknowledged that I never should have been intimate with anyone else. I don't know what a remorseful letter or email should say, but I think in my case there's not much to explain. It's such insane, hurtful behavior that I don't even know if she can explain it. She ended it with a statement that she's hoping we can talk things out at some point. I also ended up calling the long-term affair partner's wife. I took him up on the offer, and actually what he told me checked out. Surprisingly, it appears he was an open book with his wife once the secret spilled out. The lady was nice and to the point. Said they had been struggling for years. They have now separated and will also be filing soon. It was weird because she didn't seem angry and it was like she was relieved. Said the guy was a great dad, but they were terrible together, and that my soon-to-be ex-wife had really done a number on him. One thing she did say that resonated and that we discussed is that she was very hurt that he didn't end things with her before it started. She thinks he was afraid to just get the divorce, but the affair part caught her off guard and was embarrassing because she felt like a safety net. I can relate. It's like they are afraid to risk being alone or something. The nature of what my soon-to-be ex-wife did is far too much for me. I've read a lot of stories here, and I've seen a few where people don't leave when they discover serial cheating and all the lies. I can't imagine staying. I'm so disgusted, but also heartbroken at the same time. Also, I don't know yet if she is losing her job. I was told by the affair partner's wife, the one I spoke to, that she's on leave. Which doesn't sound good. I will post again when I can, just trying to focus on getting through this mess. He handled everything like a champ. And now to the fourth update. Well, here we go. She's been served and the divorce is underway. It was a huge mixture of emotions and continues to be as I waver back and forth between relief, sadness, crying fits, anger, and just about every emotion one could feel. I still feel like I'm in a horrible dream, and I struggle to realize sometimes that this has actually happened. Never in a million years did I think this would happen. Her sister and her husband, I guess my ex-brother-in-law, have individually reached out and shared their disgust and support. Neither one of them knew, apparently, and according to my ex-brother-in-law, who I was quite close with, they aren't hanging out with her. If nothing else, I appreciated their kind words, but I don't actually think they'll freeze her out forever. Nor do I really care about that part. But it did feel nice to not have them blame me or ignore me. They both genuinely seem to be at a complete loss over this. I still haven't spoken to my ex or communicated back in any way. There are still calls and texts, but they are less frequent. My understanding through the grapevine is that she was fired and is living with her parents. Or will be soon, since the house we rented had the rent covered by me through March. Not sure if she's fully moved out or what, but I gathered that she's struggling and has lost even more weight. But apparently she's gotten the lips done even more than what she had before, for whatever reason. Full honesty, I did read a few of the emails she sent before I had to stop. It was a lot of the "I love you" stuff, tons of apologies, but not directly addressing her behavior or why, really. She claims she's really messed up, and that she got carried away because it was easy for her to connect with these guys. She liked the attention and never meant for me to see her messages. I sat back when I read that part, and it struck me that she obviously would have kept doing this if whoever caught her at work hadn't walked into that office that day. She also claims she never really loved the long-term affair partner and that she only loves me, but that's obviously impossible to accept given the nature of the messages I saw and the consistent emotional expressions of that very thing for the better part of a year. I guess if she was lying to me, it makes sense she was lying to these guys too. I don't know. It's just such insane behavior. I suppose this is more of a stream of consciousness than an actual update, but I just feel adrift. I don't want her back, but it's terrifying on some level to be in this position. Trying to understand how someone could look you in the eye and lie so consistently and pursue multiple other relationships at the same time is gutting. The long-term affair partner is tall and good-looking, so that doesn't help, but the other guy is a legitimate creep. Bald, muscular, but a loudmouth, and definitely a dude that is always looking to hook up. It's a weird dichotomy, especially since she was supposedly happily married to me. I don't know what to make of it. I think it was just getting the validation and attention from anyone, I guess. But the more I read and the more I really think back and connect the dots, the more it seems clear that she is in the personality disorder category. I realize that the best avenue is to just move on and forget her, but that's much easier said than done. It's so hard, and trying to understand the behavior has helped me heal. That's all for now, but as always, any thoughts or advice is welcome. Thank you. And the fifth update. Her sister called me today and I answered. I spoke to my ex-sister-in-law for about 30 minutes, and I'm glad I answered. She was apologetic, and her and my ex-brother-in-law, he yelled out to me in the background, expressed a lot of sadness and regret at what my soon-to-be ex-wife has done. She was gracious, understanding, and in part just wanted to check on me. She also shared that my soon-to-be ex-wife has been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, which was a huge validation. Apparently, my soon-to-be ex-wife disagreed and is going to another therapist, but for some reason that confirmation felt like $1,000,000. Several people on here mentioned it too. I feel like I'm running a marathon, and the finish line is just around the corner. I'm not healed by any means, but I realize that I'm getting farther along down the line. I'm frightened to some degree at what lies ahead, but not like I was before. I run marathons, well, a few, so this analogy has helped my frame of mind. I've still managed to avoid my soon-to-be ex-wife's calls and texts, but there haven't been any in a few weeks. I did read some of the emails she sent, but those have trailed off too. It's getting closer to 6 months, but it's still a struggle, and the pain and emotions frequently come roaring back at any given time. No contact is huge though, and I see why not sticking to it just prolongs the torture that many of us on this sub go through. It's something I got right in all of this, but I wouldn't have without all the posts and Redditors who demanded it. One last thing. I confirmed that she got fired from her job through a friend of a friend. BPD is still not an excuse for cheating. At the end of the day, she just has low morals. And the last update after a year, so the divorce is final and done, and I'm officially, or maybe rather legally, free. It's almost been a year since my suspicions started, and a few months from when my worst nightmare was confirmed. I can say that the worst of the pain has all but gone away, but I'm far from healed, and some days the sadness lingers longer than other days. I'm definitely getting better, heavy focus on myself, and filling my time with my career, friends, lots of fresh air, and trying to stay on top of my health, both mentally and physically. I had a few questions about my ex-wife's recent behavior that I was hoping some on here could relate to or advise on. First, I've run into my ex twice recently, and both were pure chance, in public areas common to both of us. I decided not to move, but did get my own place. One instance she was on her own, and the other she was with a female friend who I was also friends with. Both times my ex-wife was cold, barely acknowledged me when she was with her friend, and just glared at me when she was solo. I know I shouldn't care, but I do, and it hurt. I realize I was not perfect, but I was told through the family grapevine that she was mad for ratting her out to her family. This seems absurd to me. I didn't cheat on her with multiple people like she did or lie to her, so is this something they just do? If so, any idea why? Second, one of her friends who became a mutual contacted me. They no longer speak because the friend caught her in several lies and had had enough. The friend shared with me that since about January, when my ex moved in with her parents, I believe it was roughly a month, maybe two, after things blew up, my ex has been dating online and has slept with an outrageous amount of men. The friend said 9 that she was aware of, several of which were also married guys. I shared in a previous post that my ex-wife was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder, although she rejected it. 9 new partners in 6 or 7 months seems crazy to me, but maybe I'm out of touch. Is this related to her borderline personality disorder? Is this common? What seems to me severe promiscuity? I've read that it can be a behavior pattern, but this just seems beyond anything I can wrap my mind around. Thank you in advance. I value the advice here and still healing. She is a serial cheater. She's already destroyed 3 families and will go on to destroy more. OP, she's in the past now. Keep looking forward to your future, and I wish you the best of luck. And with that, we will wrap up today's video. Dear viewers, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss out. Until next time, bye-bye.